What do you think real shopping is?
Real shopping is when I can come home with more than just packages.
Real shopping means what?
I can spend the entire day there.
And what do you think real shopping is?
Whether you're whispering your wishes or filling someone else's, College Square Mall has the shops, services, and restaurants with everything you need under one roof.
Experience real shopping.
Only at College Square Mall on University Avenue in Cedar Falls. That's real shopping.
So this is College Square's Mall in Cedar Falls, Iowa. One of the two malls in the area that I used to come to as a kid. Now, obviously it's pretty much abandoned, but with the COVID outbreak and everything, and they've got signs up stating that they want people to wear masks. They don't want anybody just walking the mall. I'm obviously going to break both of those rules today, because if I wore the mask, you won't be able to hear me. But also, there's nobody in here. I was in here last week. There was only like 3 stores open. I've only about 5 left in the mall. The place has been featured on a lot of dead mall channels. I'm more here for nostalgic reasons. But yeah, so I'm breaking all the rules, but I doubt there's going to be too many people shopping today. And if there are, we're just going to stay the hell away from them. So we've got all these great photos. This is the Field Brothers Barn on University Avenue, built 1873. This is actually a picture of the ice house that I talked about in the schoolhouse video back when it was in use. Back around 1922. That would make a great video if I could get in there. So they do have all these great historical pictures of Cedar Falls, Waterloo area up on this wall. And that's freaking cool. That is worth your time alone coming into this location. So here we have the directory for the mall. And this is pretty much the mall. Not terribly exciting, but this was the place to be back in there. And somewhere back in this area, I remember there was KB Toys. I think it was down this way a little bit more, down by those stairs. There was also an electronics store closer over here. I remember a trip there when my Uncle Steve was visiting, which was when I got my copy of Super Mario Brothers 2. See, I may not be doing a whole lot of gaming content these days, but it all comes back to video games. So this seemingly empty blank wall is somewhat interesting to me. On the other side is a Hy-Vee Groceries. Back when I was a kid, I believe it was a Walmart, possibly a Cedar, but I think a Walmart, and it was open. It led into the mall. And the thing I remember is over here they had it's only like 2 or 3 steps, but then they had a wheelchair ramp that had to go back that way and then back this way. It seems kind of ridiculous when you think about it when you go up 2 steps. But hey, that's how wheelchair ramps go, you know. But I remember it had some like tiny water features on it, which was really cool. And these water features were like nothing. It was just like a little pool, and people throw pennies in there, make a wish type of thing. But for some reason, I was just obsessed with these tiny little pools, which is weird because behind me is this huge, massive fountain inside these big fake rocks. That looks incredible. We're gonna get a shot of that real quick. But yeah, for some reason, that's not the thing I remember from my childhood. I remember this tiny little pool that you can't find any documentation of on the internet. So, just the way my crazy mind works. As you can see back in here, everything is roped off due to COVID and the not wanting to touch and everything. We've got these really cool looking benches here. But again, so many of these storefronts are empty, and they've been empty for years from what I've been told. But something cool they're doing is they have in all this local art display, which is pretty neat. It's a good use of the space. This is a shame this isn't the happening mall it was back in the late 80s, early 90s. But here is the fountain we were just talking about a minute ago. This thing is pretty cool. I'm going to throw a commercial up I found for College Square Malls. Probably at the beginning of the video, and you'll see the fountain in that. So this has always been here. And honestly, when I was here the other day, the water smells so stagnant and stale. You'd think it was the same water that was here 30 years ago when I was a child. Obviously, that's not the case because water evaporates. But yeah, it doesn't smell so great these days, but it does have a great look and it's a pretty nice atmosphere in here. See people throwing pennies up in here, much like the smaller ones I talked about. I always thought this was cool as a kid, but again, for some reason, whereas this is what you think would wow me, it was the tiny little ones that don't exist anymore. guessing maybe I should have brought the tripod in here instead of finding places to set my cameras down, but I don't want to look too suspicious either, though. I probably do. I've seen security walking around. But yeah, that's the fountain behind me, and over here is some wheelchair ramps. On the other side, you saw the stairs. So it's a really cool way this place is laid out. You got the stairs on one side, wheelchair ramps over here. It is a nicely laid out mall. And I know it seems small, it's just a one-floor mall, and it is small, but it's a decent size, especially for a town this big. Plus, there's another bigger mall in Waterloo. Hopefully we can check out there. Go ahead and try and get a shot of the fountain here from the other side. Going up a wheelchair ramp. This mall doesn't really have a food court per se, but there's this Mongolian barbecue, and then there's a pizza place that is open, and you're getting a lot of nice aromas from these. And where that Mongolian barbecue is, I mentioned the trip that my Uncle Steve came to visit, and whatever this Mongolian place was back in like the early 90s, we ate there for lunch, and I just remember the waitress thinking that my uncle and my sister were a couple and I was their kid, despite the fact that my sister, was only 3 years older than me, but she always looked a bit older than that, and I always was looking pretty young, so it kind of balanced itself out, but that has always made me laugh. So that's a little memory there for me. So they got a few games hanging out here, and there are a few stores that are open over here, which is pretty cool. Here you can see Express Factory and American Eagle Outfitters. I hope I'm not moving my camera too fast here and making everybody sick. But they are open for business. They're among the last few stores here, and they are currently open. But we're pretty much at the end of the mall now. Let's go see this old abandoned Yonkers store down at the end here. So we're at the dead center of the mall. This great inlay on the floor. It's the College Square logo. It's still pretty cool. And if we look up, we've got this wonderful skylight directly above us. And there's a department store here that's pretty nicely fits in with the decor around it. It's pretty fucking cool. And who here remembers these things? You drop some sort of a coin in it, a penny, quarter, nickel, dime, whatever, and you watch it spin around and go in there. These have been in here as long as I can remember. And I just remember me and my sister begging our parents to give us a penny or something that we could drop down these things. I don't have any change on me. I mean, I have some in the car, but if we go to the other mall, maybe we'll be able to do one of these at the other mall if they have it. That'd be great. So here we are at the other end of the mall. This was a Yonkers store. Yonkers is now long gone and closed. From what I know, this building pretty much just sitting empty and abandoned. That's really all there is to College Square Mall these days. Kind of hard to believe that, 30 years ago, this was sort of one of the places to be. Come here Sundays. We get lunch across the street at Bonanza, which is also gone and is now Buffalo Wild Wings. Where I ate a few days ago, oddly enough. It was pretty good, but it was no Bonanza buffet. I can't complain. College Square does have a movie theater. I don't know if it's still open or not. I mean, look at this place. Most things aren't. But I do remember coming here as a kid to see movies until the theater over at the other mall, Crossroads, opened up. We'd come here or we'd go to the movie house in Waverly. But the movie house in Waverly had like 2 screens. And here there was more, so there was more of a selection. And one of my earliest memories was coming here to see Jetsons the movie on a Sunday after church. And it being sold out. And it just blew my mind because I'd never seen a movie sold out before. And it wasn't just the next showing, it was like the next 2 showings, so we had to buy our tickets for like 3 more showings back, you know? And then we came and wandered the mall for like 3 hours until our showing of the movie had started up. And you know, it seems like you couldn't do that here. I mean, I was able to film this video and walk the mall in like 10 minutes. But imagine if all these storefronts were full. You could easily spend a day here going through the stores, looking through everything they had to offer. But you can't do now. The passage of time has taken its toll here. And the COVID outbreak. And you know, this wasn't meant to be a nostalgia-fueled trip for me. It was just meant to be a fun little vacation because I had the time off from work, and why not? But it has become this nostalgia-fueled trip for me, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to come here because this place might not be around for too much longer. And yeah, it's been featured on plenty of other YouTube dead mall channels, and that's not what I'm about. But here we are, taking a look at it, and I think we're going to go over and see if we can take a look at Crossroads next. So that's at Crossroads, and they got the same rules as College Square did, but we're going to go ahead and ignore that. Now, the big deal with Crossroads Mall is it's a whopping 2 stories, which there's not a whole lot of 2-story malls in Iowa, at least not back in the day. When they built this, it was one of only 3. It's probably more now, but the decline of malls in favor of online shopping, I'm not really sure. I tried to Google the numbers and couldn't get quite an answer, so. But yeah, in this area, it's one of 2 malls, and it's the only 2-story mall, so this was always the big mall, because College Square and Crossroads, those names sound oddly similar, especially to a kid. Even now as an adult, I'm still kind of screwing them up. So, yeah, so this was the big mall, and College Square was always the small mall. So there you go, upper and lower level. Now there's a jazzercise place here, and you can hear the instructor really kicking it out. So I don't even think you'll be able to hear me, but she sounds like she's having a good time. So it's always good to see you here. Here is the center of the mall. All its glory. It doesn't look like much, but you know, malls are all failing everywhere, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, so all its glory. I'm going with that. So there's a lot more going on at this mall. There's a lot more people here, surprisingly, given the circumstances. But a lot of storefronts are also empty. I mean, this was the bigger mall, and I think it's realistically probably just as empty as the other one was. It's kind of a funny thing, we've got this whole strip here where these stores are all open and active, or maybe not quite open, but definitely active, and then right behind it is the whole wall of empty spots. Just look at this huge, massive storefront here, and then going on behind me, all back down this way, it's just all completely empty. This is my favorite store in the mall. It is the closed down brick store. That's why it has the brick front. I'm kidding. This was actually a music store when I was a kid. And since me and my sister were taking lessons from the church organist, that's where we come every Sunday and play around keyboards and pianos. And we're back to filming in the car because filming in the mall is actually a bust. My pictures make the place look dead, but it was surprisingly busy. It was quite happening, and I just could not get some of the shots I wanted. There were just too many people. I don't want to be putting people who don't want to be on a YouTube video out there. I mean, a lot of them were far away. You saw there was a surprising amount of teenagers in there, and I'm clearly not going to be filming somebody's underage kids. I already got some dirty looks just filming the empty storefronts from some people while I was in there, so I figured get out of there. You saw pretty much all the mall in the video. I just wish I could have got a bit more. They did have the thing that, you know, the other mall had, where you put the coin in it and spins around, and the whole time there were a bunch of teenagers around that thing dropping coins in it. So I didn't get the shot of that. You know, it's one of those things only I really cared about, but it seemed weird that that's where all the teenagers were hanging out. But yeah, that was Crossroads. It's funny though, because, you know, this is the bigger mall, but I remember it being bigger. And that's the funny thing about coming back to these places as an adult you went to as a kid. Like, College Square honestly looks the size that College Square was, but Crossroads, I remember it being bigger and it's smaller. And that was the thing I should point out with the Round Barn. I mentioned that a few people told me that the antique store I wanted to go to, that was the Round Barn, had been torn down, but I did find this Round Barn that looks similar in Janesville. My sister made a comment like, I remember it being bigger, and I was just like, everything was bigger because we were smaller. But my dad saw the video and his comment was, I don't think that's the right barn. It doesn't look quite right, and I remember it being quite a bit bigger. So I'm pretty sure the barn I'm looking for doesn't exist anymore. But hey, I found two more, and one of them got thrown on YouTube that I completely trespassed on for no reason, because it was probably the wrong barn. But that's the thing, everything looks smaller except College Square, which is almost exactly how I remember it, with less stores and less people. Oddly enough, it's like 6 o'clock, the mall is closing up, a lot of the stores are closing when I was in there, and as I'm sitting here filming it, a ton of people are walking by my car going into the mall, so I guess Crossroads is still doing all right. Aside from the fact that I remember it being bigger. But thanks for watching. That was College Square and Crossroads Mall, and we'll see you next time. It's fine, the side it still says Yonkers, but that's actually the Dillards, and the other sides all stay Dillards. It's like, I don't know, maybe they kept the Yonkers up there for historic purposes. Who knows?